Hey, what's up everyone? Danny and Alex. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys 5 tips that are going to enhance your skills to land the backhand, all right? So your backhand is going to be your cross, your uppercut, or even your rear hook, all right? So check it out. Okay, tip number 1, we're going to look at if you're a trainer. In my case, I'm Alex's coach. I want to make sure sometimes that he punches in the exact same place, all right? So a lot of times we'll train as such. Let's say the jab will be on this side and a cross on this side. And that's great because that forces my athlete to twist his hips, rotate his shoulders into each punch. But sometimes I'm going to work a little bit more on accuracy. And one way to fix this, if you're seeing that your athlete's having a hard time landing the backhand, which is the right hand in this case, now what you're going to do is make sure that the jab cross is in the exact same place, because that's where my chin is, right? So if he's landing the jab and the cross, it's going to be exactly where the chin, right? On the button. So now I'm going to place my focus pads so that way there he can jab on the first mitt here and then land the cross right after in the exact same place that it was, all right? So like this, it's going to look jab cross, and sometimes you'll see the jab cross done as such, and other times I'll hold it like this, you know, just bum bum right away, all right? So just the backhand here, and that way there, his right hand will land exactly where it's supposed to be. So this is one of the first tips you can do. That way there, you ensure that the right hand is gonna land on target, because usually we'll throw the right hand after the left, which is the jab cross. Now the second tip I'm gonna share with you guys is basically, let me grab this here, and I have Alex hold this behind his neck like a squat bar. And this is gonna be a way, I'm just using a dowel, but you guys can use a broomstick, anything, right? So now I want him to get into a stance, and now I want him to rotate. So you can do this in a square stance, or you can do this in a staggered stance, but I want him to rotate 90 degrees. All right, so basically rotate in one direction, 1, and then 2, and then 1, and then 2, and then freeze on that twist, Alex. If you notice here, that 90-degree turn where his shoulder is from his hips, that is the exact place that you're gonna use when you twist for your cross, for example. All right, so if he comes back here into the jab, for example, his lead shoulder is forward, and now if he throws the cross, he has to rotate his leg so that way there his trunk can turn, and he brings his shoulder into the equation for that cross. Now by using this as an exercise, for example, if I have Alex twist on one side, and don't just twist for the sake of twisting like aerobically, you want to twist and understand what you're doing like if you were throwing a jab and a cross. So this rotation right here, if you turn sideways, Alex, you're going to see how his trunk will turn, 1 and 2, and that's the exact same thing I want you guys to practice and think about when you're throwing your straight punches. All right, so now without this, if we do the jab, notice the twist of the shoulder, and now twist again into the right hand. If we look at the opposite direction, 1, 2, and again turn, 1, and freeze. See, that's the exact same twist we practice with a dowel or a broomstick, right? So this is tip number 2 on how to reach a little bit more with your backhand. All right, into our stance for tip number 3. Now let's turn the other direction, Alex, so they see their cross. All right, so we're talking about the backhand in this video. That means that's his right hand. So notice the location of his punch, all right? In this case, his glove, right near the chin. That's exactly where it needs to start. If you think about the mechanics, the good mechanics we talked about of rotation, that means his hip is gonna push his shoulder, and the shoulder is gonna rotate into the punch. All right, so you want your punch to be right in front of that shoulder, that power source when it comes up and it drives forward. Okay, that's where the power comes in. All right, so you don't want to be punching downwards or upwards. You always want to have that shoulder behind that punch. Now, if you make sure that your hand is always in front of your shoulder, and if you look at that, it's always placed in front of your chin. All right, so that's the proper on guard boxing position. That is tip number 3, guys. All right, super simple. But if you want to have more success on landing the backhand, you have to make sure it starts from the proper place. Okay, so you don't want to have your hand at your chest or at your waist. All right, because look, it needs to travel a long way. So what does that tell you? That tells you exactly that is. It's telegraphing your punch. Every time I'm in front of the camera and if my hand is here, it has a long way to travel before it hits you. All right, so you don't want to telegraph your punches. Now, if you have your hands in the proper place, you're not telegraphing, and you're going to have a lot more success with the cross, with the right hook, even the uppercut. Boom, because it always starts from the same place. Now, as the sparring opponent, I never know which punch is going to come. Is it the hook, the overhand, the body shot, the straight right? Is it even a uppercut, for example, I don't know, because they all start from the same place. So to me, that's tip number 3 on having more success to land the backhand. All right, tip number 4, guys. All right, they all go hand in hand, but this one is critical: visualization. All right, so when you're shadow boxing, visualize exactly what you're doing. All right, so we're focusing on the backhand in this video. So now if he starts to throw some punches with that backhand, he's always visualizing in his mind, using his eyes, visualizing exactly where he's hitting the target, right? So he's seeing the nose, he's seeing the eyebrows, he's seeing the temple, he's seeing the chin, right? He's seeing the neck and the shoulders. He's seeing where the gloves of his opponents are located, if they're wide, if they're narrow, if they're high or they're low. And he's seeing exactly when his punch is going to land. So that's the visualization part of shadow boxing every time you drill. So now once you get this, when you're going to be sparring for real, you know exactly where you're going to hit. So if you don't know where you're hitting, you're not going to have a lot of success with landing that backhand. So if you know exactly where you're hitting, chances are there's going to be a higher percentage rate of you scoring with that backhand. All right, so whether we're talking about the hook, the uppercut, or the right straight, always visualize what you're doing. Whether you're training on the focus mitts, shadow boxing, the heavy bag, imagine you're always sparring. All right, guys, we're going to go with tip number 5, the final tip. And in my opinion, the most important one, I kept it for last. All right, the best tip is save for last, and that is your footwork. All right, you're going to be only as fast as your feet. Don't forget what I just said. Okay, so let me repeat that one more time. You're only as fast as how quick your feet are. All right, so if you're stagnant and your feet are kind of bolted on the ground and you have like slow, heavy legs, you're not going to succeed in landing that backhand. All right, so this brings us to footwork. So now, if he throws the backhand, he doesn't want to just stay here, because look, he doesn't reach anything. This is where my target is, right here. So there's no distance, there's no range. He needs to use his feet to bring him in. So now if he steps in with a jab cross, for example, look, boom, boom, see? And a lot of times, I'm not going to be sitting here like a sitting duck, all right? I'm going to be moving away. So when he throws the jab, I move out of the jab. And now he has to move in with the cross again, see? He needs to move in with his feet. So in the shadow boxing, when we're doing this, look, he moves his feet with both punches. Look, slow motion, 1 and 2, okay? 1 and 2, and do a few reps here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Notice the feet here. Notice how the legs are moving forward, bringing his punches to his target, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. So stepping and stepping with each punch. All right. So now when you're training your shadow boxing, you're training your focus mitts, always make sure that you move your feet. Like I said, one of the most important aspects of scoring with punches is not how fast your hands are. How fast can you bring your hands into the target? And that's your feet, your footwork. All right, guys, there you have it. 5 super good tips to land the backhand, your cross, all right, your straight right, your uppercut body shot, or your right hook. Whichever punch you prefer to do, make sure that you use some of these tips we discussed, and we'll catch you
in the next video.
Take care.